Welcome back to the Junkie Sports Media Podcast today. So, the NBA season is about to tip off here, and we are coming at you guys with our bold 2020-2021 NBA season predictions. Ladies and gentlemen, these are going to be quite bold, if I must say so. Davis, go ahead and kick us off. What is your first bold prediction for this season?
My first bold prediction for this season are that the Indiana Pacers are not going to make the playoffs.
Okay.
Here's why. So I think both the Atlanta Hawks and the Wizards will be vying for that last spot. And I think we can all consider the Bucks, Nets, Celtics, Raptors, Heat, and 76ers as locks. So I think with the Hawks and the Wizards in the mix, and you also have the Hornets, who could be surprising some people, the Magic, and I still think the Bulls are in that conversation too and could be kind of coming out of nowhere. I think because of those reasons, the Pacers didn't really make a lot of big improvements over this offseason. Sabonis could have a sort of Siakam-like regression where we saw Siakam kind of take a step down from his game when it came to returning to the bubble and those regular season games and in the playoffs. He kind of just took a little bit of regression level. And I don't think we're going to be able to expect that same high level of scoring from TJ Warren that we also saw in the bubble. And Victor Oladipo coming off the injury. I mean, he was all right, but I still don't think we can just expect him. We don't know exactly what to expect from Victor Oladipo. And so for those reasons, and especially because the Hawks and Wizards are going to be right there in it, and you have the Hornets, Magic, and Bulls all kind of knocking on that door, I don't think the Pacers make the playoffs. So do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to go into my next bold prediction?
I just want to give a brief response. I would agree it is bold. But yeah, no, I mean, there is a lot of these up and coming teams with a lot of young talent. If that young talent sort of hits and clicks together for this season, I mean, yeah, I do think there is that possibility. The Pacers sort of slip out of that playoffs. They have a new head coach, and so yeah, definitely possible. Do you want to do
Because
your
also I
second?
don't
Oh, go ahead.
know how much bigger Sabonis' ceiling is. I think kind
I
of
think
what we
he's
saw
at
from
his
him
peak.
last year.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so if he's not able to live up to that peak that we saw last season, and plus, like I said, Victor Oladipo and TJ Warren might not be, what we kind of think they might be going into this season. The coaching changes definitely play an impact on the culture that we've seen from the kind of never give up Pacers team. And so I don't know. There's just a lot of red flags for me for this team as to why they might miss the playoffs. Plus, if they're an 8 seed or a 9 seed, they could not make the playoffs just because they lose the play-in tournament to a hot, streaky young team coming in. So I
Yeah.
think it sounds bold, but I don't, I would be willing to put some money on that happening.
Okay.
So
Do you
going
want me
on
to do
into
my
my
first one, or do you want to just rattle off your bold predictions?
Let me just rattle all mine off
Rattle
and
them
then
off.
you can rattle all of yours
All
off.
right,
So, my
let's do it.
next bold prediction for this 2021 season is that the Philadelphia 76ers win the Eastern Conference Finals and go into the overall finals. I don't know if they'll win the finals or not. I'm not willing to make that take, but I think they'll
A
win
little too bold.
over the Milwaukee Bucks specifically. And there are a couple of key reasons for this. First, they were one of the bigger underperformers last season. A lot of people expected, oh, Ben Simmons might be able to shoot some threes this season. Oh, there's just a lot of reasons why people were high on the 76ers going into last season, but they didn't live up to the hype. They didn't have a healthy Ben Simmons going into the playoffs. And so that kind of impacted how far they were able to make a run into the playoffs. Plus, they had a kind of suspect coach in Brett Brown. But outside of the Lakers, in my opinion, we talked about it on our offseason episode, but they had a very good offseason in terms of their, getting a new coach, getting a new GM, getting a lot of good shooters around their, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons duo. But kind of outside of that great offseason, Joel Embiid won't need to take as many threes specifically because of some of the acquisitions they made in the offseason. So he can focus on, protecting the paint, blocking shots, cleaning the boards, and kind of playing that more traditional center down low. Yes, he'll still be taking some threes, but he won't be as their offense won't be as reliant on him kind of creating some extra shots and spacing the floor as much because they are going to be bringing in so much spacing and 3-point shooters. And then on the backs, I think that they are going to be winning the Eastern Conference Final on the backs of the 2021's best defensive duo as well. And I think Simmons and Embiid, we've talked in the past about how great of a defensive season we can kind of come to expect um, from Ben Simmons, but Joel Embiid has always been a very good defender as well. So I think they're going to be in the running between. It's either going to be them or Kawhi Leonard, Paul George for the best defensive duo, and I think defense wins championships. And because Ben Simmons is obviously a point forward type of guard, he's able to guard the good wings out in the East. He's able to guard Kevin Durant. He's able to guard Jason Tatum. He's able to him and Joel would be able to shut down Giannis Antetokounmpo. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of defensively key metrics as to why they can make a deep run in the playoffs. And my final reason as to why they can make this deep run is that they might end up with James Harden after it's all said and done. There's not a lot of teams that are able to put together a good, solid young package. And yes, Ben Simmons might be involved in that, but any team that James Harden is on, I don't think you can discount them from, making a deep, deep run. And especially if Harden is around a more traditional offense with, other good shooters around him, a great center in the league. He hasn't really played with a great center ever. I don't know. His best center he's probably played with is Clint Capella.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, like, I don't know. I think seeing James Harden, I mean, I don't want to talk about this whole James Harden thing that much because we don't know if it's for certain. But the fact that they are in the running and he could end up there is another reason why they could potentially win the Eastern Conference Finals. Thoughts?
I'll get into my thoughts in a minute. What's your last bold prediction? Because I'll talk about that in a minute. So go ahead and tell me what your last bold prediction is.
All right, my last bold prediction is that Karl Anthony Towns demands a trade before the season is over.
Asks or demands?
Demands.
Demands.
So, yeah, I mean, at this point in his career, we can talk about it all we want. How Karl Anthony Towns hasn't been able to be on a competing team in a lot, like ever since he's gotten NBA. And at some point, that's all going to kind of come to a culmination in an end. And if I see a scenario where they start, 2-13, and Cat is very upset. It's not working out with D'Angelo Russell. Anthony Edwards might have to develop more than they were kind of hoping coming into this draft. And, if they don't have that immediate success, I think Cat's going to get frustrated to the point where he realizes, as a big man, specifically in the NBA, you only have a limited time frame, before injuries start becoming a problem with your knees and before, his value kind of starts to slip a little bit. And right now he has, all NBA talent. And is one of the best centers in the league, and he's very cerebral and knows that his trade value could be very high. And so if he gets to the point where he's just fed up with losing, and eventually, yes, they brought in D'Angelo Russell, they've tried to appease him for so long, but at some point it has to come to an end if they keep losing. And so I think that my last bold prediction is that Karl Anthony Towns demands a trade midseason, and he gets out of there.
Is there any teams that come to mind that you think would be front runners for Karl Anthony Towns?
What about Sacramento? I don't know.
I don't know.
I honestly didn't think about it that much.
Yeah,
but
is there any that you had in mind? I have one that I could think of off the top of my head that might be interesting to see if they make a trade for him. Would be the Thunder. Thunder have all these assets, and pairing him with Shea, I mean, they have all these assets because they want to bring in all this young talent. I mean, how old is Karl Anthony Towns? Like 24, 25?
Yeah, he's young.
I think that's someone they could. I mean, I don't know. That's just a team that comes to mind that not only has the cap space, but would also fit that timeline and what that team is trying to do in terms of bringing in young talent. So
The Miami Heat also come to mind. I think with a lot of these big players, I think the Heat will continue to come up, especially now that Giannis has signed the extension with the Bucks. You know, they're going to have to be looking at some of these other stars. But, you know, if they, yes, you know, you can say what you want about Bam Adebayo, but, you know, I'd still probably rather have Karl Anthony Towns down there than I would Bam, even if you can project Bam to be a good 3-point shooter a couple years down the line. But you know, if they're trying to continue winning now, I think Karl Anthony Towns only adds to that. And I think if he's demanding a trade, he's going to be trying to go. He's going to be coming up with a list of teams that have a winning culture, and the Heat obviously have that. And so why not?
is Cat the most offensively gifted center in the NBA?
100%.
I think Jokic is a close second, but I would agree. I think he is offensively in terms of what he brings to the table and weaknesses. I do think he's the most complete on that side of the ball.
I do. I'm just gonna put this out there. I know this is totally unrelated. I think since we're talking about Jokic, he could potentially win the MVP this season. I don't think that's that unrealistic to think that if they finish, you know, top 1 or 2 seeds in the West, and I mean, Nikola Jokic is still very young as well.
Oh
If
yeah.
he continues to improve a little bit defensively and can get a little bit more consistent with his 3-point shot, his 3-point shots are already pretty good as a baseline right now. And it's pretty consistent and reliable. But, you know, they lost Jeremy Grant, they lost Torrey Craig. And so there's still more points to be going around. And if Jamal Murray doesn't make that next big leap that people are kind of expecting from him after what they saw in the bubble, I think Jokic could be in that conversation. I think very highly of Nikola Jokic, specifically in his his vision and his creation for other players. I think probably one of the best passing centers we've ever seen. I want to say the best, but I'm sure I'm forgetting about someone off the top of my head right now.
I
I
don't know.
feel
I
like
think I would agree with you. He's the best.
okay,
The only other
perfect.
ones I could
But
agree, Marc Gasol's a good one. Um,
so that's my dark horse bold prediction is that Nikola Jokic for MVP.
okay. All right.
Uh,
So here are my three. So my first one, and this is where I'm going to touch in on your second bold prediction with the 76ers, which is James Harden gets traded for Ben Simmons to the 76ers at some point throughout the season. And that allows Philadelphia to make the NBA Finals. So that's pretty much the same thing as what you had, except I don't know if you harped on as much about that trade happening. And so I don't want to sit too much on that because I do have a dark bold prediction that I have in replacement of that, which I want to I'll wait for it at the end because it's pretty bold. And
all right, all right.
I know there's a 50-50 chance when I say it, you might walk off the set. So who knows?
That's fine.
So my second one is Zion Williamson has a healthy season. I know it's pretty bold, which is kind of funny that that has to be bold, but he has a healthy season and as a result makes an all NBA team. And I just think the dude is, I mean, if he can have a truly healthy season and they're not playing him in bursts and can actually go out and play like steady minutes, the dude can average 28 easily. I mean, it's so weird. Like when I watch him play, it's like he touches the ball. It almost reminds me of Klay Thompson in the sense of like he just doesn't touch the ball. And then next thing you know, you're like, whoa, it's a third quarter and the dude has 25. Like what just happened?
Yeah.
And you're like, I think I saw him touch the ball once. It makes no sense. He's someone that can get points so quickly. And I think for him, it's just if he can play consistent minutes and he stays healthy, I think he averages 28. I think he's going to be an all-star this year just because of the hype behind him and people are going to vote him in and want to see him in that. Oh, wait, actually, I take it back. Well, they're not even having an all-star game this year because of COVID. So
Yeah,
I
no.
don't know how that's going to work. I'll take that back. But
They'll come up with something.
they'll come up with something. They might still award it because I know that's part of like contract
Yeah.
stuff. So they maybe still award it to just not have a game or something. But I don't know. I do think if he can genuinely have a healthy season, I think he'll put up a stat line that'll award him an All NBA team, especially if the Pelicans make that 8 slot in the Western Conference, which is where I think we have them, or we might have them on the fringe. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
The Pelicans?
yeah, where
I
do we
have
have
it pulled up. So we had them going 10th.
10th.
in the
Okay,
West, right behind the Warriors and
yeah.
Suns.
So basically on that fringe of being in that playing situation, but definitely someone that if he's healthy and the Pelicans are playing well, he's someone that can make an All NBA team in my mind. And then my first bold prediction, or my last bold prediction before we get to my dark horse, is Damian Lillard wins the scoring title this season, takes it away from James Harden, wins the MVP, and takes Portland to the Western Conference Finals. So
That's a 3-1 bold prediction.
I
I
know
love it.
it is very bold. I think Damian Lillard,
Wow.
what we saw in the bubble was incredible. The dude just puts the ball in the hoop. I mean, he's been taking just ridiculous threes.
The amount of times you say, "Oh, this
Ball in
dude
the
just
hoop.
like knows how to put the ball in the hoop." Oh, like it's like yes, that's the goal of basketball, and he can
Well,
score, can put the
well,
ball in
he
the
does
hoop.
it really well. Damian Lillard is disgusting, and I think we're going to see a regression in James Harden this year slightly. I mean, very slightly, but I think Damian Lillard.
He's fat now.
I think this is going to be the best season of his career. I really do. I think he is going to. I think he wants to win in Portland. He wants this team. He wants to take this team to the finals. I don't think they're going to make it to the finals, but I think it's completely possible that he wins the scoring title this year. I think he's going to be absolutely insane. And I think if he can lead Portland to a top 4 seed in the West, and I know you're really bullish and really high on Portland. I'm not as high, but I do think there is that potential there for them to really do well in the West, really make a top 4 seed, and potentially make a Western Conference run behind Damian Lillard as their MVP.
I
So
like it. We know how much I think of this Portland team
I know
and
you love
how trash you've talked about him in the past. So I'm just
because you're
a
in
little
love with
surprised to
Robert
see.
Covington. But
I'm a
okay.
little bit in love with Robert Covington, but
Um, and so, also, and I'm gonna overreact from the preseason yet again. Derek
no.
Jones Jr. looks very nice for Portland, I must
I
say.
called that, didn't I?
He looks nice. But hey, it's just the preseason. But I ain't gonna overreact. He does look nice. But all right, so here's my dark horse bold prediction. I will say before I get into it, I would implore you to not walk off the set, but I would understand if you choose to do so. I know this is a bold prediction you will in no way agree with.
All
Are
right,
you
let's hear
ready?
it. I'm ready.
Trae Young finishes the season top 5 in MVP voting.
I hate you so much. Oh my god. All right,
One of
let's
the
hear it.
primary reasons we talked about I talked about, I guess, with Luka Doncic winning MVP this year as my pick is if he can just continue to make these minor adjustments across the board. I mean, he was already in the MVP conversation last year. Talking about Luka, makes these minor adjustments, continues to improve his game. Like if he doesn't even make a massive jump this year, like he's still in the MVP conversation, and that's why he's my pick this year, is because I continue to expect him to grow. Trae Young
I
averages
hate you so much.
29 and 9. The dude
Yeah.
is disgusting. And I think with the roster they have around him in Atlanta, and they went out and they absolutely killed it in this offseason, I without a doubt think it's possible for them to really move up in the East. I think they're a team that can really be unexpected this season. I think they're either going to be really mediocre or just absolutely nasty, and people aren't going to. It's going to be a similar OKC thing where, I mean, not as big of a difference, but they're just going to make a massive leap up in the standings in the East. And if they do that, it's going to be because Trae Young is playing out of his mind. And I mean, if they can finish in that 4 or 5 seed out in the East, I mean, that means they're really getting ahead of some very good teams out there. It means they're probably getting ahead of teams like Philadelphia, potentially Miami, potentially Boston, Toronto. Like these are good teams. And so if they can get in that 4 or 5 seed, um, and it's Trae Young putting up 33, 32 points a game, 10 assists, I don't know how you, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you can't give it to someone who does that. So
I mean, my
it's
only
bold.
problem
It's
with
bold.
that,
But I think
and
he would
I'm
finish
only gonna be.
in the conversation for it. Is what I mean. He's not. I don't think he's going to win it, but I think
You
he
said
might
you
finish
did say top 5,
top 5 in
right?
MVP voting. Correct.
So okay, my only problem with that, and I am only talking about this because I did not walk off the set, and I'm very proud of myself for that. But is because if he's finishing top 5, who's getting kicked out of that conversation? Because I think Luka Doncic will absolutely be in there.
Yeah,
Giannis is not going anywhere. LeBron's not going anywhere. Kevin Durant will be there. Steph Curry will be there. You already talked about Damian Lillard. That's already 6 people in
I think
Kawhi. Like, do you want
if
me to
I
keep
had to
going?
pick
Like, who
people
is
that
he
are,
kicking out of there to be able to?
I would
Like,
kick
I just
out
don't understand.
Kawhi. I would say in that scenario, uh, Kawhi, KD, and Steph are all out, and Dame.
So 3 Western Conference teams that aren't impacted by the Hawks that much.
The
The Hawks'
reason why is
success.
because, again, I think KD winning an MVP or being in the upper echelon conversation is quite bold, especially because he's coming off an Achilles injury, and they're on a brand new team. They haven't played together. I think for Steph to potentially win it, the Warriors need to be as a team fantastic this year. And so, and it's not
I
someone
think they have a lot better chance of being, um, a top 4 team than the Hawks do, and I don't think that's even like
a
something we
top
need to be
four,
discussing. Yeah, like in their conference, yeah, like for the like final seedings going into the playoffs.
not a chance. The Hawks are a better team than the Warriors.
Okay, we also haven't seen either of these teams play, and they are both radically different rosters than what we've
In
ever
a
seen them play.
7-game series, would you rather take right now the Atlanta Hawks or the Golden State Warriors?
The Warriors.
Oh,
I think it's a sweep too. Yeah.
Davis, don't be outrageous.
Come on, you're the one that was being outrageous saying that the Portland Trailblazers in our previous episode should not be over the Utah Jazz. And here we are talking about how
Yeah, because the
Portland
Utah
is going to
Jazz
be
are a
going to
better
the.
team.
I think I might have just subliminally like convinced you that the Portland Trailblazers are going to be better. And the GMs agree with me, funny enough, if you look at the GM survey.
When's the
But
last
anyway.
time GMs have ever been right in the NBA? Never.
I feel like they're pretty competent. They're more in the loop about basketball and player development than your
Not
everyday
us.
average fan.
Not the Junkie Sports Media
That
analyst.
is true. That's why Adam Silver, I'm looking directly at you. We were waiting for those award ballots. We will single-handedly do it. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I don't know.
Tangent.
I mean, it is bold, but I do think it's possible if the Hawks can get in a 4th or 5th seed and
I
Trey.
just don't want to keep talking about this. It's not happening. I'm sorry.
It's bold, but I don't know. I think it's
No, it's not
definitely
happening.
within the realm of possibility.
I don't live in that universe. I don't know what universe that's happening on.
I
The
mean,
one
it's
in your
almost as
background,
bold as saying
potentially.
that. I mean, I would say it's as bold as saying the Portland Trailblazers are better than Utah Jazz. But
I think both Jimmy Butler and Devin Booker would win MVP before Trey Young is even talked about in that conversation.
okay, Davis,
I said
stop it, stop,
it.
stop it. That's outrageous.
Oh, you're
That's
outrageous.
outrageous.
We're both outrageous. That's why this is the bold predictions episode.
Trey
You're
Young,
welcome.
right? Trey Young in his second season put up a better stat line than Devin Booker or Jimmy Butler could even dream about. Dream.
Okay.
I
I'm
said
not,
what
I'm
I
not.
said. I said what I said.
Yeah, and they were one of the worst teams like ever, but whatever.
Not at
Horrible
all. Did
defense.
they finish
Horrible
last?
defense.
No.
Yeah, they were very close.
I think
Yeah,
their
they're
team
in the running.
when
They're
players
in
in
the
the
lottery
NBA,
sweepstakes.
they're typically not good at defense. When you have a young team, you're not gonna be known for defense. That's okay.
Yeah, Cam Reddish is a pretty good defensive wing.
I would not say pretty good defensive wing.
Sorry, exceptional. What do you want me to say there?
I would say mediocre at best.
You need to watch some more Hawks games.
I watch all
Yeah.
the games because I
Oh,
want to.
you
I'm
watch every Pelicans game. You watch
Trey
every
Young.
Hawks game. You watch every game ever. I get
Trey
it.
Young
Ain't a
is
problem.
future MVP, so I don't know. I said what I said.
I mean, not while Luka's in the league. 0% chance.
Trey
0%
Young,
chance.
Luca, and Giannis, and potentially Zion are just gonna play around with the MVP conversation for the next 10 years.
All right, we're a little too bold
I'll tell you
for
right
our
now,
bold predictions.
Trey Young and Zion will both win at least, but likely only one MVP apiece at some point in their career.
I think Ja wins it before both of them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, you just forget about like key players in this league that are young. Donovan Mitchell wins it before both of them.
No, that's a lie. That's
Say what I said.
that's too
I said what I said.
I think I think Ja Morant. If I had now you're making me think. If I have Ja, Zion, and Trey in a list of
I also
who can
think Cade
win,
Cunningham wins it before all of them. I
okay,
said it.
okay.
I said it.
Trey Young's first, Zion second, Ja's third.
That's blasphemy. And with that blasphemy, we're gonna wrap up this bold predictions episode because we're at the point where we are off the rails with our
It's
takes
too
right
bold.
now, and we need to stop ourselves before the internet scorns our takes forever into the abyss that is known as the dark web. So,
With
without
that,
further
thanks for
ado,
watching. Peace.
peace.